Welcome to part 2 of lesson 4.5 table views. So where we ended up during part number 1 is we had gone through and we had implemented 2 of the data source methods or functions. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and implement the cell for row at function. So let me just go ahead and remove our comments. And basically, usually there are 4 steps that you need to do when you do the cell, implement the cell for row at function. First one is fetch the correct cell type by dequeuing a cell. The second one is to fetch the model object to be displayed. Then you configure the cell's properties with the model object properties based on the model object, and then you finally return a fully configured cell. So let's go in and actually implement that. So the first statement in here is our dequeue reusable cell function that we're going to go ahead and call. And what we need to do is we need to go ahead and update our with identifier name. So previously, when we went into the main storyboard and we went into our cell, we specified a unique identifier for that cell. So in our emoji cell, we specified an identifier of emoji cell. So that's what we're going to be using for our identifier. So I will just go ahead and type in emoji cell. And then after I do that, so that'll go through and dequeue the cells as needed. Then what we need to do next is we need to use the row property to go ahead and get the exact row that we're going to go ahead and add that emoji to. So I'll just put let emoji equal emojis, and then it'll be our index path dot row. So it'll go through our array and it'll go ahead and set the emoji found at that specific row equal to our emoji. And then what we need to do after that is we need to go ahead is to configure the cell with the information about the emoji. So it'll be just our cell and our text label. And again, this is going to be optional, and it'll be the .text field. And what that's going to equal is we'll go ahead and add in our emoji .symbol. And then we'll place a dash, and then we will go in and add our emoji.name. Okay, so that'll appear in the text label, and then now we need to specify what's going to appear in our detail text label. And again, that is optional, so we'll just go ahead and enter our text. And what that'll equal is we're just going to specify the emoji description. And then we will go ahead and return the cell. So let's go ahead and build and run our application and see what happens. Okay, it looks like our application is coming up here momentarily. It looks like it's filled up our emojis, and we get that automatic scroll within the emoji, the actual table. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to work with the second protocol in the table view API is the delegate. And the delegate object conforms to the UI table view delegate protocol, and it implements methods to modify visible aspects of the table view, manage selections, support an accessory view, and support editing of individual rows in table behavior. So there are no required methods that you need to go ahead and implement. If you want to go ahead and actually respond to a user action, you would respond to it by going ahead and implementing the didSelectRowAt method. Anytime the user taps a cell, the table view will select that row, provided the cell selection style isn't set to none. So, and by default, the table view changes the background of a selected cell from white to gray and will deselect any previously selected cell. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and implement that delegate. So let me see here. Move row at, we have for row at, did select row at. So I think we're going to need to actually add the method in here. So we will go ahead and type in override, and it'll be a func, and it'll be our table view, and did select row at. So that is basically the method we want to go ahead and implement. So I'll go ahead, and the first thing we need to do is to let our emoji equal to our emojis at whatever row or emoji cell that the user selected. And the other thing we're going to go ahead and do is we are just going to go ahead and print when a specific cell is selected. We're going to print the emoji symbol, and the index path at which it was selected. Okay, so that's all we need to implement that delegate. Basically, we're going to find out what row the user selected, and then we will go ahead and display that information. So we'll build and run our application. And then if I go in and actually select emoji down below, it shows that it is in section 0. Row number 1, I select spaghetti. It's in section 0, row number 6. So it looks like that is working correctly. So I will go ahead and stop it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to implement the functionality to go ahead and reorder cells. So it provides the table view provides a manageable way for users to control the order of cells. The UI table view cell defines a property called shows reorder control a type bool. If this property is true, the table is in editing mode and the data source method move row at is implemented. The cell will display the reorder control to the right of its contents. So back in our project, we want to go to the cell for row at method, and right before our return statement, we want to go ahead and set cell.shows reorder control equal to true. And then after we've done that, we're going to go ahead and we want to go ahead and a table view will enter editing mode when the user taps an edit button in the navigation bar. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and implement that. In the chapter they talk about going in and adding a button bar item and then specifying an IB action. That will go ahead and put table view into editing mode. But there's an easier way to do that. If we go back into our viewDidLoad method, and after the first statement, we want to go ahead and add in navigation item dot left button bar item equals to edit button item. So this is a unique button that you can add in code that will give you the same functionality without requiring any additional actions. So I will go ahead and add that in. So now we'll get our edit button bar. Next we need to do is we need to implement the move row at function. So let me scroll on down. And the stub is actually in here, so I will just go ahead, delete the comments. And what we need to do is we need to go ahead and let our moved emoji equal to emojis. So what we need to do to move it is we first need to remove it, and then we need to insert it back into whatever spot it was moved to. And it'll be from indexPath.row where it currently exists. And then we will insert it back in our removed emoji. And then it'll be at to a specific row. And I need to make sure I'm typing everything correctly. Okay, and then finally the last thing we do is after we move it, we need to go ahead and reload our data. Reload our view, so it's table view, reload data, and what that'll do is it'll reload the view so it is in the order after it's been rearranged. Okay, and then finally, the one thing we want to do is the time will come when you need to reload your table views data. So table views have a built-in instance method called reload data that forces a refresh. So if we want to refresh the table view with new data when a user returns to the view, we can go ahead and add the call to reload data in the view will appear method. So let me just go ahead and add that implementation here. So I am going to override func, and it is view will appear. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing here. Table view reload data. Okay, so now we should be able to go ahead and run our application and see what happens. Okay, so we have our edit button now. So on the left, we still are able to scroll up and down. So let me go ahead and click on edit. And now we have our little icon over to the right where we can go ahead, select an emoji, and then move it up or down. So it looks like our app is running correctly. We could just go ahead and place done, and what it'll do is it'll go ahead and refresh that view so they're in the order that we reordered them in. So this is the end of lesson 4-5. What we're going to be doing in the next video is we're going to go ahead and continue to work with our emoji directory project, and we're going to build on it in the intermediate table view lesson, which is 4.6.